Okay, we're live, Hunter.
Very good. My name is Hunter Morrison. I'm the planning consultant for the city of Youngstown. This is a virtual meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals and City Planning Commission held on Tuesday, February 16th at 1:30 via Zoom to consider 6 cases. We have a quorum of Mayor Brown, Eric Holm, Jeff Limbian, Chuck Shashow, John Swires. Have I missed any other members?
Marguerite Douglas.
Marguerite Douglas. Thank you very much, Marguerite. Okay.
Eric Holm joined as well.
That's right. I have Eric listed. So we do have a quorum, and we can begin our meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I would note that all proponents and opponents who wish to speak on any of the cases need to be sworn in by our court reporter. So at the beginning after I announce each case, I will ask those who wish to speak on the matter to be sworn in by our court reporter. Our first case of the Board of Zoning Appeals is case number 21-04. The applicant is Victoria Brown, who requests to expand a benign pre-existing use in an RS 7.2 single-family residential zone for commercial use. The property in question is located at 3125 Shady Run Road. I believe this is a pre-existing daycare use, but we'll hear from Ms. Brown. All those who wish to speak on case 2104 should be sworn in by our court reporter.
Would you raise your right hands, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. I was going to say, Ms. Brown, you're muted, but that's good. Okay. Ms. Brown, do you wish to speak on your case or present your case?
Yes. So basically with my daycare, I'm just expanding in the basement. Basically, I'm remodeling, wants to remodel down there just for the kids to have a little bit more of or the parents to have a little bit more of a rental area for kid parties, kid game room, or even get me some licensed specialist for hair for the kids, or barber for the kids, stuff like that. I'm just trying to please the parents' needs that's been coming across. So I have a big space down there where I feel like I can do a lot more with for these kids.
And you submitted an interior plan of the basement that showed areas in the basement that you would have these different activities. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to present to the body, to the committee?
No, that was about it.
Okay. Are there anybody who wishes to speak on behalf of this case? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this case? Are there questions then from the board?
Chairman Hunter?
Yes.
I've got one question.
Eric Holm?
Thank you. Are there egress requirements for having that space used in the basement with the childcare?
No, I have not seen or heard too much about that. All I was told is as long as we have I have an exit, a fire exit, and like their separate door to that basement, which I do, was basically the requirements, all that I had heard of so far. But yeah, I have 2 different exits in their own parking lot, actually.
Do you have licensing requirements to operate a daycare center?
Yes, I have my license for upstairs. So what I would do for the basement was basically hire or rent out and then make sure they had their license.
So you would sublease the basement to,
Yeah.
and you would insist that that tenant get a proper license.
Yes, correct.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
And who is making the motion, please?
Swires.
Mr. Swires, you're making the motion, I assume, to approve.
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Holm is seconding. It's been moved and seconded to approve the expansion of the pre-existing condition. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
The second case before us is case number 2105. The applicant Michael Cohn requests to operate a construction company on a vacant lot and property located at 2310 and 2320 Mahoning Avenue. And it notes there's no construction business use in the code. I think we may hear from the audience about that issue. This is one of two cases Mr. Cohn is bringing forward. There's a planning commission case we will hear in a few minutes. Would all those who wish to speak on this matter please be sworn in by our court reporter.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Cohn, would you want to present what you're proposing to do or are doing at this point in time?
I just have vehicles for my construction business, and most of them are parked there now because of the COVID issue that we had. And usually they're on job sites or the employees have them. And I'd just like to keep them parked there. And there's some like materials that I don't use or I have stacked up for use later on that I keep there.
Okay. Do you screen this? Do you have any screening to screen this construction operation in a retail district?
What do you mean by screening?
Fencing, something that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do have a fence that I put up, a wooden fence that goes across the front of the property now.
And you, can we see the map again, Rick? The property in question, you have two houses and then a lot in between. Where is the construction? Where's the construction storage that you're proposing?
In that lot between the two houses, yeah.
And where is the construction fence that screen fence?
30 feet from the road right there back, and it's straight across in between the houses. And there's driveways there, so it's a foot off of each driveway. So it's, yeah, right about there.
Okay, so it's set back behind the building setback line.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and what are you using or proposing to use the small parcel on the side street?
It's a 6-foot dog-eared fence.
Okay. And is this a hard surfaced area or dirt? What's the surface of the?
Part of it's gravel, and then part of it's grass.
Okay. Very good. Are there is anyone in the audience who wishes to? I'm sorry, Mr. Cohn. Is there anything else you want to speak to this particular project?
No.
Mr. Collin,
Yes.
What type of construction do you do?
I do house remodels and building and pole barns, fences, decks.
Now, who is speaking, please? And
I'm sorry, Hunter, Chuck Shasha.
Okay.
Mr. Cohen, do you have backhoes, any heavy equipment at all?
I had one that was there, but I got rid of that. I have a loader, but it's not going to be there too much longer. I bought another property in Trumbull County, and I'm going to be taking that over to there.
Okay, so how about stockpiles of aggregate or materials, stuff like that?
I have like lumber and wood that I use that's back there.
Lumber and wood. Okay. That's all the questions I have. Sorry.
Through the chair,
Yeah, who is this?
Swires.
Mr. Swires, yes.
Sir, are you saying that you're gonna encompass this whole property with a wooden fence all the way around?
My plans weren't to put the fence all the way around, but the fence is all the way on the front of the street where you can't see back there anymore.
Okay, because my concern there is you're saying you've got lumber piled up and other things. Anybody could go in there, then a child or anything, a young person could go in there and roam around inside where you have all your stuff stored, correct?
Yes. I own the lot beside it, the house beside it, and the house on the other side too. And then there is a fence on the other house by the side street for the property that I own over there. There's a metal fence over on that side. And then on the other house, there's a metal fence from the back of the house all the way back to the dentist office that's back over there.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the members of the body?
Through the chair. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nikki. Go ahead.
Do we have current pictures? I'm hearing a lot of fencing and storage. Do we have current pictures of what the property looks like?
No, we do not. We did not go out and take pictures of the property. Mr. Cohn, do you have any pictures you want to submit to an exhibit?
No, I don't have any at this time. I didn't think to take any of them. The one fence that's been there for years, that's by the dentist side from the other one, and the other one has been there for years also. The new fence, there should be plans and drawings with the inspectors that I had to submit for the building inspector.
Those were not those were not submitted as part of this case, and certainly that might be relevant to a further investigation, but we don't have a copy of that. Are there any other questions of member? Yes.
Through the chair.
Yes, Mr. Squires.
Yeah, this is a question that Mr. Shasho. Chuck?
Yes, sir.
Is there any requirement with a finished surface on a property like this for the use that they're using it for? Like, should it all be gravel or can it be dirt? I'm not getting that part.
I'm not 100% sure. I think that's more of a zoning. That's more of a zoning question. I'm not real clear on that, but all I know is if they're going to put gravel and it's going to be paved, then they have to make allowances for that for stormwater purposes. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would depend on the zoning district, since there is no construction business use in the code. I don't know if that would be classified or what it is actually zoned. If it would be, if that would be a green industrial or mixed use.
Yeah. One of the questions that is raised is whether this is permitted. That's a Google Earth shot of the property.
Yeah, see that metal fence right there? That goes all the way straight back, all the way to another fence on that side. Just beside this house, the one on the left.
And the lot further, this lot that's being pointed to, that's That's the lot in question, and that's proposed to have a fence.
That has the fence, yeah, 30 feet from, I think that either the sidewalk or the road, it's 30 feet back between them, the two houses, from, and a foot from the one driveway on the right and a foot from the one on the left also. It's a 6-foot high fence.
Mr. Sashow, in answer to your question, I believe that this type of construction use is permitted in industrial districts, but not in commercial districts. So it is provided for in the code, but not in the commercial section. What are we looking at here? Is this the?
Yeah, see right in that tree line right there, there's a fence that comes all the way straight across there.
Right there, that's the small lot in question. Okay.
Yeah, see that lot right there is my lot too. That one right there beside that bush. Well, where that bushing that is in between them two houses, that's my lot also.
I guess through the chair.
Yes, Mr. Suarez.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the gentleman, have you checked on either side with these people that live there, that they're okay with this being right next to them?
The other houses are mine. This one on the corner is vacant right to that brown one. It's vacant.
Okay.
And the lady back on the right side, she never really says anything. That's actually her car that was parked in my lot, and she just moved it probably like a month ago or so.
And now you have two houses, one a rental house?
Yeah, I live in the tan one, and then the one on the right, my sister rents.
Okay, is that registered?
I'm not sure. What do you mean by registered? I just got them because my mom just transferred that one over to me.
Okay.
The other one I've been owned, but my mom just transferred this one over to me on the one on the right.
Well, as you may be aware, the city does have a rental registration requirement, so you should be about the business of getting it registered.
Okay. How do I go about doing that part?
Through the chair, finance
Yes.
department. Finance department.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, Hunter.
You missed, and who is this?
Shasha, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
What exactly are we doing here? I mean, because it just says the applicant is requesting to operate a construction company. I mean, we're under Board of Zoning Appeal. Did he receive a letter of violation? He's not asking for a variance. A variance would be if you want to reduce a setback, change parking requirements. But just to ask permission, that's either is that not a zone change? He's requesting that.
It might best be handled as a zone change, or because it
So
is
that's different.
It is a change in the commercial properties aren't used for construction purposes. That's industrial classification.
Correct.
But I don't know if I've ever seen a situation where we've just allowed someone to do something that it's not zoned for, unless he receives a notice of violation and he's appealing that, because this is Board of Zoning Appeals. If somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. I'm sure there's a better way of going through this, but I don't think it's Board of Zoning Appeals. I think it's either a zone change or I'm not sure how to proceed.
I don't have information as to whether there was a violation of a notice of violation that triggered this.
I believe there have been notices of violation.
Who's calling? Who's talking?
Hi, this is Laura Fulmer. To the chair, I've been trying to talk, but I was muted. Thank you for unmuting me. So the situation with Mahoning Avenue, to give the background, is there's 3 lots. There's a house on the one lot, a vacant lot in the middle, and another house on the third lot. So it's actually zoned appropriately for a construction business. It's zoned mixed-use community. However, our zoning code does not encompass a construction business. It does not have that use in our code. So the idea was to come before the board to get permission for this construction business, for them to make a ruling on whether or not to allow for it, since there is no use such as this in the code without any standards as well. Now, I have issued a notice of violation on the property for not having a zoning permit. The property is also currently in code enforcement and has a case there. So there is a zoning and code enforcement violation cases, and we have been out there multiple times trying to get the owner to clean up the property. We do have pictures. We can get those.
It's not a permitted use within commercial, correct? Ms. Fulmer?
I'm sorry, I got muted again. Go ahead, Hunter. What was that?
The construction business is not a permitted use within the commercial. It is permitted within industrial, the two industrial classifications. Is that not correct?
Well, we actually do not have that use in our code. It's not addressed at all. So the idea was to come before the board to make that decision, to weigh all the impacts of the neighborhood, et cetera, with this particular property and use.
Yes, it might be better to revisit the code because Mr. Shashav raises an important question about whether this is an appropriate variance or whether it's a zoning change.
Well, we actually don't have this use in our code at all. It's not addressed whatsoever.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that it might be better to go back to council and get it to be addressed. Are there any other questions for from the members of the board? And you mentioned, by the way, Ms. Fulmer, other violations. What's involved there?
So there's a zoning notice violation, which was issued for this use taking place without permission. It's been going on, running the construction business out of these 3 lots without the proper approvals. And then secondly, there's a code enforcement case that's quite far along with notices of violation, and that is for the junk and debris and trash at the property.
Mr. Cohn, do you want to speak to that and how you're remedying that issue?
I'm getting it cleaned up back there, and a lot of the stuff that I am using for the house that I'm remodeling. So most of that's all getting cleaned up. The wooden stuff is a lot of it's moved.
Okay. Are there any other issues, Ms. Fulmer, you wish to bring the board up to date on?
Just that we can supply pictures if needed for the board. We've been out there multiple times. Now, Mr. Cohn did apply for the zoning permit, and that's what he's here for today, is to seek approval of that zoning permit.
Okay. Mr. Councilman Ray, do you want to speak to this issue?
Yeah, I would just, my concern would be the ongoing violations and getting the proper property in order before any is the gap in the code. Then we need to address that. Maybe we need to address it before making a decision and see the impact that could have, or if that's appropriate use for a modification to our current code.
I think that's what I was getting at, is if the council wished to modify the code to allow these as this type of light industrial use as a conditional use in a commercial district, to give the board some guidance rather than have the board essentially write legislation through precedent. Ms. Posterle, did you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. I'd like to add also, I think we should table this matter for the purpose of revisiting the code with council, as well as making sure that any current code violations, any delinquent taxes, or any other outstanding issues are taken care of before we bring this back to this body.
You're recommending tabling?
Yes, I am.
Is there a motion to table?
I move to table the issue.
Okay. I second.
So it's been moved by Mr. Limbian, seconded by
Marguerite.
Okay. To
I
table, I
didn't-
assume Mr. Limby will be tabled to the next meeting to a date certain.
Yes, just for the record, I didn't move to table it. I'm not opposed to that, but I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't
who
move.
made
I
the
was going
motion?
to ask a question.
Hunter, it was Eric Holm.
Eric Holm, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I wanted to ask Mike Ray a question before we table it. Is that possible?
It's not appropriate for Robert's rules, but given the law director does have a question of relevance, I think we can make an exception.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Councilman Ray, if I'm understanding this correctly, it sounds like this is going to have an effect on the aesthetic nature of the street. Is that accurate? And I was wondering how the councilman feels about that as a general concern.
That would be a general concern. This property has, as Laura Fulmer indicated, she's been out numerous times. It's a contentious. The condition of the property is reported regularly by neighbors, other businesses, neighborhood groups. So that would be the concern, is getting it in order before, even if we look at it and say, is a construction of business appropriate? First of all, we need to make sure that property is ordered and compliant. I appreciate coming before the board, to ask for that, but I think the other things need to be addressed before. Did that answer your question, Jeff?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
As chair, I'm going to make another exception of the Robert's rules. Mr. Davignon, you had a former director, you had a question.
Yeah, I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert in any of this or anything like that, but nor do I really want to contradict anything that's already been said. But Mr. Shasho brings up a good point, which is, and there is a listing in the permitted use tables for a contractor shop and storage yard. And it has a definition. It says a building and related outdoor areas used to store and maintain construction equipment, which sounds exactly like what the applicant is asking for. But it's only permitted in IG and IH zoning districts. So I think it's going to require a zone change application, and the jurisdiction of the Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't really apply in this case. My recommendation is it should just be denied, and the applicant can seek a zone change if he has to.
The matter, we have a motion to table at this point, perhaps to sort some of these issues out, and to bring this matter back before the board at the March meeting, by which point in time, I think some of the concerns, Mr. Davignon, that you've raised as to whether it's appropriate as a zone change or whether there's a code change that would allow this to take place as a conditional use in a commercial district. And Ms. Postle, you've raised issues of pre-existing violations being addressed. Mr. Cohn, well, the motion is we have before us is to table. Let's call the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So, Mr. Cohn, you need to come back at the March meeting, and I would certainly urge you to address existing code issues, tax issues, rental registration issues, things that have been raised on this. We will, and on your case, we will determine how best to handle the situation, whether it's through a zoning change or a zoning variance or code change on an important arterial street of Mahoning Avenue. We will see you in March.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You'll stick around for your case in a few minutes, but before we go to the Planning Commission, third Board of Zoning Appeals case is case 2106. The applicant is Luis Avena, requesting a reduced setback for a pole barn on property located at 3217 Lenox Avenue. Said setback from 10 feet to 2 feet on the rear and side yard. Is Luis Avena here? and Mr. Avina, and all those who wish to speak in.
Here. I was on mute.
Although Mr. Avina and all those wishing to speak on this case, please be sworn in.
Would you raise your right hands, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Mr. Avina, can you tell us something about your property and your project? And Rick, can you get us the graphics?
Yeah, I wanted to put a pole barn up just so I could put some extra, my 2 drive lawnmowers and a couple things, and then my mom's furniture, because my mom just moved with me. So I had to make sure it's protected for the winter until she gets her Section 8 approval and she gets her apartment. I have a picture of it already. I tried to apply for a permit like 3-4 months ago, and I was trying to get this up before winter because, like I said, I knew my mom was coming down and I needed somewhere to put all her furniture. I didn't get the permit in time, or I was denied. I'm not sure because I never received my payments back or anything. Then I called back because I received an infraction saying that I needed to apply for a permit. So here we are again, and I got pictures of it so you guys can see it. There. Right here.
That's a picture of the pole barn?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're storing vehicles in it?
I got one old-fashioned vehicle in it that's gonna be sent in, painting and stuff. And like I said, it's mostly got furniture in it right now. My mom's furniture on top of pallets, because she moved in with me until she can get a Section 8 approval. And what else I got in there? And I got 2 tools in there. It was originally when I did the plan and sent it in, it was denied, and they told me I had to move it towards the back if it does get approved. So that's when I started moving it to the back. But when I did, I didn't know that they had an offset of 10 feet. So I did 2.5 feet in between the side of my fence and the rear of my fence.
Now, your lot is fenced?
Yes.
We've had the discussion in the past on other cases about the setback from a fence, and pole barns don't necessarily get painted, but one of the issues is always how to maintain the building. And I know Mr. Shasha has spoken on that in other sessions. Is there a reason why it has to be that close to the fence? Could you move it 3 feet or?
I could, but the guy
off the fence.
$700-800 to move it for me because he takes it down and moves it over. Because it can be taken down back over like I did from the front, and I moved it towards the back originally.
So the pole barn, you have put the pole barn up.
Yes.
Okay, and you've got a foundation in place.
No, it's on tarp. I'm just leaving it on tarp. And then later on, I'm gonna throw gravel in there, and that's it. It's like I said, it's only to store stuff. It ain't gonna be to do any kind of work or anything like that.
Okay, so you could move it if the board so directed you.
Yes, it will cost me another $100, but yes, I can move it.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on yes, Mr. Sasha? Hello? Mr. Sasha? You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, I'm good now, I think. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Am I to understand the building is already up and he had to move it once already?
Yes.
Okay. Who told you to move? Who told you it had to be moved?
When I called the permit division, he said it was definitely not gonna get in the front. I would not be able to get it. She said you have to move it to the back.
Okay. So this is just my question. When, obviously, you knew that there were some regulations on where it had to be. So why didn't you wait and find out and submit those proper plans before you moved it to make sure it was in the right spot? after you moved it instead of revisiting it again?
Because
Why
I
did you
did,
move it without making sure it was in the right spot?
because I needed it for all my mom's furniture. She has a 4-bedroom house that she was bringing
I understand.
over, and she was coming in like 2 more weeks.
Well, it's just that it puts us in an unnecessarily difficult position when you already have a building there and you're asking us for a variance after the fact
Okay, understood.
about it. I'm interested to hear what the neighbors have to say. That's all. That's all I have.
Are there any, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter?
I would. This is Sherry
Sherry, what is your last name, please?
Sebastian.
And did you get sworn in?
Yeah, I don't have a video on though,
Okay.
just audio.
That's okay. And
I'm just a little.
What
I'm
is your
sorry.
what is your address?
I live across the street, 3306.
Very good, on Lenox Avenue. Okay, very good.
I was just curious. The first time that you put the pole barn up, did you have a permit then? And then they made you move it back? Is that what happened?
The lady from the permit division called me and said, listen, we can probably get a pole barn approved, but you have to move it towards the back of the building. I knew it was really up the first time. I only had like the 4 poles up.
Yeah. Yeah, we wondered what was going on because it was right next to the sidewalk. So you moved it back and now they're asking you to move it again?
Yes.
Okay.
But it is now moved it towards the back of the site, is that correct?
Yes.
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 Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it now. When it was by the sidewalk, it was an eyesore, but yeah, good luck.
So from your perspective, you're comfortable the impact on the neighborhood, at least from your perspective, is addressed by having moved the building.
I believe it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I believe it is because he moved. It's in the back of the yard now.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Chair.
Mr. Shashow?
If you don't, I'll get 1 second, Laura. Then, I have one quick question. So if you don't have a zoning permit, I'm going to guess you don't have a building permit because they wouldn't give you a building permit until you have a zoning permit.
Yes, and I applied for both of them right now, and we're just waiting to find out if they will give me the building permit.
I think you got to slow down.
Yeah, you built it.
Okay. The chair, this is Laura Fulmer.
Ms. Fulmer?
So to the chair, I just wanted to mention that how this initially came in was a complaint that the garage was built up to the sidewalk. In fact, upon arrival, that is where I found it. It was in what would be the basically front yard. We did not tell Mr. Arena to move it. I advised him he had to cease construction completely. I issued a notice of violation for it being in the front yard, and I advised him he needed to come through the Board of Zoning Appeals to ask for a variance for it to be in the front yard, if that would even be allowable, which it's not. And in the meanwhile, while we were waiting for him to apply, he moved it to the backyard, which is where it sits now, fully built. When I identified it, it was not fully built. Now it is. And the violation that stands is the setback. So he doesn't meet the setback. But I just wanted to clear it up that we actually did not tell him to move it. I'm not sure who told him that. That was all.
Are there any other comments or questions? What say the board? Is there a motion to approve or to disapprove? Is there an action the board wishes to take on this? The building is in place. It could be moved, but it is behind the front setback. It's too close to the side setback, and appears not to have a building permit, though Mr. Vina has applied for a building permit. Building is up, and the family furniture is stored within it. Is that correct? Yep. Well, that sounds like there was some family urgency to get this done.
I have no place to go.
But what's the wisdom of the board?
I hate to do that. I want to do this, but I moved to deny. I think that that we can't. I mean, the building's already up. We can't. I'm going to move to deny. Sorry.
I'll second.
Who is the seconder?
Swires.
Been moved and seconded to deny. Any questions or discussions on the matter?
Yes, I
Mr.
have some
Sasho,
questions. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Limbian. Mr.
Thank
Limbian.
you. Through the chair. So if we deny, then are we saying this gentleman has to take the thing down?
I think
Mr. Sasho?
I think, well, first of all, he should be stopping construction immediately because he doesn't have a building permit. There's been no inspection. A 20-foot by 20-foot building requires a building permit. It's not a little shed. Also, I think that he needs to get a proper submittal in, and so that a full review of the zoning requirements can take place. Because I'm not even sure that the size. And Laura, you don't have to answer this now, but I'm not even sure if the size of the building complies. I mean, he already has one accessory structure. I'm not sure two are even allowed without. But at any rate, I think at this point, I think it's time to take a little break and have him get a full submittal in.
Well, I guess then through the chair, would it be better to table this matter and sort of allow everyone to regroup? Or, I mean, what is the net effect of denial at this point?
To the chair, this is Laura.
And Laura?
Yes, I just wanted to answer Chuck's question, is that there has been a full review. He submitted a site plan, et cetera. The code stipulates 890 square feet, total accessory structures. This is 400, and he has some other accessory structures, but it does not exceed the 890. So we do know that he is in compliance with the size. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there, and it is fully built at this point. So it would be up to the board what they stipulate on if he has to take that down or not. And there is no building permit at this time. I checked with Mahoney County Building.
Mr. Avina, you said that you're using the building right now to store your mother's furniture as she's waiting for an opportunity to move into an apartment.
Yes.
And do you have an idea of when that might be, or is it pretty hopeful?
Yeah, I'm thinking by the first of the month, because she already found an apartment. She just has to get it inspected by the Section 8.
And what would your intention be after she moves into the apartment, to move her furniture into the apartment that you have stored?
Yeah, I'll be moving into her apartment once she.
So you could, is it fair to say you could, once she finds an apartment, you move the furniture to the apartment, you could move the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sasho.
I know we have a motion on the floor in a second. And I made a motion to deny, but after hearing the stage that he's in, I think it's probably best if there's no opposition from the neighbors. It doesn't sound like any. If there's no opposition from the neighbors, I would probably have second thoughts and withdraw my motion. I feel that it's best to get him a zoning permit so that he can get to the building department and get a permit to make sure it's done safely.
Would it be Mr. Swires?
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay, so the motion to deny has been withdrawn by the maker and the seconder. Mr. Sasho, so you're proposing to...
I'm sorry, cut out.
Sorry, what you propose to approve it?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to withdraw my motion to deny. I would like to make a new motion to approve variance request.
I second.
Laura, before we take that, Laura, what is the side yard setback? 10 feet? Right.
So this is Laura to the chair. They're asking for a reduction. It is on the agenda, what it should be and what they're asking for.
Okay. Mr. Shasho, you've talked about, I'm asking whether you want to approve it or approve it with the understanding the building would be moved to a more generous setback, or does it matter?
If there's no opposition to.
You'd approve it as in its current position then, without opposition. I think we lost Mr. Shasho.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If there's no opposition to anyone having the building a 2-foot setback,
I can't hear what he's saying, so I can't take that down.
Mr. Shasho, can you try again?
Yeah.
I think what Mr. Shasho was saying is if there's no community opposition, then the motion would be to approve the building as it currently exists in order to enable Mr. Avina to apply for a building permit and get the building permit. Is that correct, Mr. Shasho?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that the motion that you're making?
Yes, that is the motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
And who is that? Just,
Marguerite.
Marguerite. Okay, Marguerite, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the pre-existing or approve this case as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there an opposition? Okay. Mr. Avina, thank you. And I think you've heard the sentiment of the board is that you to take this and get the building permit so that you can be in right relationship here with the city.
No problem. I will do that right away.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to switch now. Yes. Is there somebody?
God bless you.
Thank you. We're switching now to the Planning Commission. We have 3 cases before the Planning Commission. The first case is reference 0221, a request by Michael Cohn for approval of a conditional use permit for non-domesticated animals, chickens, to be raised and accessory to residential use. The property in question is located at 2310 Mahoning Avenue in a mixed-use community zoning district, which we've already seen the property. But Rick, can you put the image back on the screen? This case revolves around keeping chickens on this property in a mobile chicken trailer. Mr. Cohn, can you speak on this matter?
Yes, I have chickens, and I built a mobile chicken tractor for it, which we move around the property so the chickens can eat the grass. And we use the chickens just for pretty much their eggs.
Well, these are truly grass-fed chickens, huh?
Well, I also feed them chicken crumbles. So
right. And Laura, has this come before us again as a result of a violation?
To the chair, Hunter, yes, this has. He does have the chickens at this time. Last that I knew, he has a chicken coop in the backyard. This is the house closest to Dr. Begezda, and this would be 2320, I believe, is where the chickens are. And at this time, I'm not sure of the status. When we had last talked, he wanted to apply for them. So we can let Mr. Cohn talk about, where he's at with that, if he gave any away or if he still wants to keep them.
Okay, before we hear from anyone else, I know Mr. Cohn was sworn in before, but is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this case, this Planning Commission case 2102 or 0221? They should be sworn in.
I do.
Okay. Can we swear the speakers in?
This is also Councilman Ray, but I think I was already sworn in, so I'm good.
Is anybody else who has not previously been sworn in? Okay. Mr. Ray, do you want to speak on this matter?
I do believe we do have a resident. I did receive some contact from neighbors in the vicinity that were not in favor of that. And I just wanted to say that, maybe we might want to let this decision wait while this property owner gets his other issues in order before we would move forward with the chicken approval. He's currently having chickens in violation of the rules as it is.
Mr. Cohn, did you has the health department inspected your chicken coop?
Well, we filed for the permit thing, and then the lady did come out, and she said that the chicken coop is the best one that she's ever seen. And then we got a violation again for it. So I'm not sure what happened with all that.
Okay. To Councilman Ray's point, we typically have a letter on these cases from the health department saying they've inspected it and they approve it. I don't see it in the file. Laura, is there anything from the health department? A letter from the health department on this? Mr. Ray, Councilman Ray has suggested tabling the matter in light of the prior action on the construction yard. I think that would allow us to Mr. Cohn to get the health department to sign their sign off saying that.
Through the chair.
Yes, who is speaking?
This is Jeff Limbian. I don't have a problem with tabling it if the councilman would prefer that route. It just strikes me as that this is something that should be denied as a matter of course on a street like Mahoning Avenue where there are chickens walking up and down eating off the grass. It just doesn't seem that when we're trying to build economic development, I'm not sure chickens on Mahoning Avenue are the way to go. So I would make a motion to deny.
I'll second.
Or third. Either way.
There's been a motion to and who is seconding to deny this permit? Is there a second? And who is making the second?
I made the second.
Mark Johnson.
Okay.
Who is making the second, Mr. Swires?
I thought I did, but if somebody else wants to make
Can't tell.
Mark Johnston. Can you hear me?
Who is Mark Johnston, please?
Yeah.
I think he might be a citizen and not a member of the board.
Yeah,
it's been moved and seconded to deny this.
Mr. Johnson,
I would like to deny
Mr. Johnson, yes.
Yes.
We appreciate that, Mr.
Okay,
Johnson, but you have to be on the board. Oh, I'm sorry, Hunter.
Well, thank you for your comment, Mr. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to deny. Is there any discussion from the members? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Motion carries. Mr. Cohen, I'm afraid you can't keep chickens on Mahoning Avenue.
Okay.
The next case before the Board of Zoning Appeals is, before the City Planning Commission is reference number 03-21. The applicant is Flying High Recovery Facilities, a lot located at 1414 Kensington Avenue, currently zoned RT 5.5 multifamily. It's a vacant lot. This is a request to change the zone from RT 5.5 multifamily residential to a MU1 mixed use institutional use. I believe it's the location of a former school. As so someone here representing Flying High. You're muted. Jeffrey, you're muted. Very good.
All right. Yes, Jeff McGott is here on it.
Okay. Before we start, we need to swear you in and anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter of Flying High at 1414 Kensington. Can we be sworn in, please?
Okay. Yes, Jeff, can you spell your last name for me, please?
Sure. Magada.
Okay, would anybody raise their right hands to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Magada, can you talk to us about your proposal?
Sure, Hunter. Thank you so much, everybody. Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to comment here. First time I'm seeing I think we have a wrong title here. It has Flying High Recovery Facility. And nowhere on my application did I indicate it was a recovery facility. Matter of fact, it is not. What we are seeking here to do is build a training facility to provide pre-employment and vocational training for underutilized workers in key industries and help prepare them for work. And the facility will be right across the street, right across Bissell is where our current welding school is. And this would be another one of our buildings for our professional development center, which is an accredited technical school by the Ohio Board of Career Colleges and Schools. And we're seeking additional space to do the pre-employment training that we're doing for multiple employers. Most notable right now, we're working with TJX. We've been working with them since November, and also they're the United Workers Union workers to qualify and prepare individuals for those jobs there, of which we've had, right now we're at 140 that we have had in our pool of qualified workers that we're presenting to them this week, actually, that we're setting up interviews for them this Saturday.
We stand corrected, and the record will reflect that the request is for a training facility, not a recovery facility. And you intend to build a building on this site, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about the building, or is it to be designed yet?
Sure. No, it's what we're anticipating is a 60 by 80 steel structure that we have plans for. Be very aesthetic to the to the neighborhood there, and I think it will look good in every aspect.
This is a residential neighborhood. This was a school, I believe, and was it a school?
Grant, I believe.
Right. So there's been an institutional scale building on that corner in the past, but I'm assuming that the building setbacks and all would be appropriate for a residential district. Okay. Question for you: there are multiple county-owned land bank properties to the north. Do you have any intention of acquiring those properties as well?
We do. We have actually a deposit on them. So we'll see how it plans out here. We're in touch with them recently, and I think there's still one that is being held up.
Is it then your intention to expand this rezoning at some point in time to incorporate those parcels, or what's your intention on those lots?
The intention would be agricultural right now. As you may know, we have an urban farm also right across the street, and we would tend to beautify those plots and also use them for
So you wouldn't necessarily need to have a zoning change to use that vacant property for agricultural purposes.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to bring to the attention of the commission?
No, sir. I just want to make sure, and I thank you for recognizing that this is not a recovery facility. It's an educational training facility to expand, more job opportunities for city residents.
It would be a great addition to the north side. As somebody who lives on the north side and knows the area well, be a whole lot better than a vacant lot on that corner. Are there questions from the or comments from the members of the board? Mayor, did you want to speak to this? I know that the issue of job training has been very central to the administration.
You know what? Thank you, Hunter. Through the chair, I just wanted to add a couple comments. This is just another layer on how we are making sure that residents of Youngstown are prepared for the workforce that's there. And I want to give a shout out to Jeff and his team. Educational training facility that we need. If we're going to give them jobs, we got to make sure they're workforce ready when the jobs are coming to the city, to the county, to the region. So if there's an opportunity for me to make a motion for approval of this multifamily residential to a mixed use, I would make that motion at this time.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Mr. Holm. Are there any questions or discussions from members of the audience? I don't see that anyone had a wish to speak on this.
Mr. Chairman. Well, never mind. I won't get into that. I'll call Jeff. I wanted a timeline. I was looking for a timeline. Is this the only use or only variance that he would need for this project? So if this is the only one, we'll be fine.
Mr. Magada, do you anticipate any other actions are required from this body?
Not at this time.
Okay. On just a question, do any of your clients, do you expect any of your clients to use public transportation to get to your site?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you had any discussions with WRTA about the routing, such as the Elm Street route through the
Also
area?
knew this hour, the last of 6 men charged.
Not as of yet.
Okay. Is it your intention to have those discussions? Because we'd encourage that, and we're working with WRTA to connect people on jobs.
Okay. No, it's a great idea, Hunter. Yeah, we'll contact them.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help on that, please let us know, because it's an underutilized route and an opportunity to connect people to jobs. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Magada.
Thank you.
The final case that we have today is a reopening of a rehearing of reference 0121, the first case of the year. This was heard at the January meeting and tabled at the time. We will rehear it at this time, brought by Tricia Davignon, 29 Wilma Avenue. Wishing approval of conditional use permit for non-domesticated animals, chickens, to be raised as an accessory to a residential use. The property in question is located again at 29 Wilma Avenue in an RS12 single-family residential zoning district. We heard testimony last month about this and concerns raised by the neighbors and by the councilwoman, which caused the board to table the motion. Subsequent to that, we have received petitions in favor and in opposition to this particular use. 10, I believe, as I counted, 10 neighbors in support of it, 11 neighbors in opposition. We've also received a more detailed presentation by Ms. Davignon of the proposed use, the actual picture of the chicken coop, and an engineering drawing showing the location of the coop relative to the house and the existing driveway on her property, sort of in the center of the lot, well away from the neighbors. First of all, let us, and I see we have a number of people who wish to speak on this matter. So our first order of business is to have everyone who wishes to speak on the issue to be sworn in.
Would you raise your right hands, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay, so the first order of business is to, Ms. Davignon, is for you to present the additional information. And we'll hear then from those in support of this matter and those in opposition to the matter. And finally from the Councilwoman Davis, who's responsible for shepherding this matter through the council. One of the reasons we're hearing this is it does require, according to the code, council approval. So, Ms. Davignon, can you present your very thoughtful material?
Sure. I'm kind of confused as to where you got 11 signatures in opposition to my chicken coop. I do know that Mr. Winter does own multiple properties. The only property that he does own that he lives in is the only property that he owns that is not tax delinquent and not rented out in the neighborhood.
Well, to answer your question, we did receive a petition to the Youngstown Director of Planning, which had 11 discrete signatures. Mr. Winter did sign for 4 properties, but I counted him as 1 signature. So that's how we got to that number. So can you
Sure.
present your case?
No, I just wanted to clarify that because I wasn't sure that he was being counted multiple times for multiple properties.
Just once. One owner, multiple properties.
Sure, no problem. So I got my approval through the city health department in order to be able to house the chickens in my property. The location where I intend to put my coop, it meets all of the zoning requirements as set out in the code. So, I mean, I guess if there's any other concerns that I didn't address in the previous meeting, I'm happy to address those. But quite honestly, living in the city of Youngstown in a food desert, you would think there would be more support for people trying to raise their own food and grow their own food in the city. And that's all. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Thank you. We heard from several people last time in favor, including at least one of your immediate neighbors. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this who is present in today's meeting?
I would like to. Melissa Birmingham.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I wrote a letter in support. I'm not sure if that was shared with the board, but I am in support of this. I'm a neighbor on 24 Fairlawn. I live almost directly behind, especially you can see her backyard. I personally have no problem with it, and I just think there's a variety of reasons why. You spoke to, I think Mr. Lindian spoke to, why on the west side on Mahoning Avenue it might not be advisable for economic development to have chickens. And I just think that that's a completely different situation. I think to this part of town, it could be a benefit to the economic development and the fact that if more young professionals or people that are interested in a sustainable way of life, like Trisha, are interested in moving to Youngstown, that could only be a good thing. You know, we're trying to attract people to live in the city of Youngstown with things like the amphitheater and other great amenities that might want to get people living in our neighborhood. I just think that she's shown to me that she's going to take very good care of the chickens. She has a coop that looks better than some of the houses in Youngstown, to be honest. There was a variety of reasons, like she mentioned about the fact that, we live in a food desert, especially in the time of COVID. I think it's important to keep that as a consideration. They're quiet. She's going to have hens, not roosters. They're very quiet. They provide all kinds of benefits like healthier eggs, high quality fertilizer. I just don't think that they're going to be anything that probably people that are opposing it would even know they were there. If she went the other route, like the gentleman on the west side, and actually have them there currently, probably nobody would even be aware they were there. So I just think that this could be something that could actually be a positive for our community if it's done well. Like I think Trish will handle it. Trish has always handled things really well and tried to bring positivity to our neighborhood with other initiatives such as planting trees and hanging banners. And I don't think she would do anything that would try to be a negative to the neighborhood. So that's how I feel.
Oh, Ms. Bingham, we did receive your letter. I don't know as it went out to the members of the board on Tuesday, January 19th. You sent a very supportive letter saying you live at 24 Fairlawn and have lived there for 13 and a half years. And this property is on the street. This property is a street north of yours, and the back yards meet at the corner, so that you are an abutting property owner in that regard. You also spoke about the neighborhood, and I would note that you are a real estate broker?
I'm a real estate agent.
Real estate agent. So he's perhaps bringing a broader perspective than many to the issue of appropriateness in a residential neighborhood. No, you wrote a very supportive letter and noted that I think the allowing this conditional use permit would not create a nuisance, but it would in fact encourage people to revitalize Youngstown. Has a great thoughtful letter on that. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in behalf of this? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Ms. Johns?
Just wanted to make sure that everyone realized that those in the neighborhood who didn't want the chicken coop, it didn't have anything to do with Mrs. D'Avignon personally. The biggest concerns were the postage stamp size lots that we have, and there is new construction of new homes behind us, and we're not far from Market Street. Some neighbors were concerned about smell. But I just want to make sure that she knows it has nothing to do with her personally. Most neighbors just did not feel like it was appropriate to have those type of animals in the city neighborhood.
I did want to mention, could I just mention, I appreciate that comment that was, that it's nothing personal to her, but that a small flock of 4 to 5 chickens produce as much waste as your average dog. So, I know that there's many households that have multiple dogs, so I don't think that the smell, when properly taken care of, would be an issue.
Yes, and for better or for worse, we don't regulate dogs. Unfortunately, we're here regulating chickens, but that is a point well taken. Thank you, Ms. Johns, for your comments and making sure that people understand that it's not a personal issue. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to this? If not, Mr. Councilman Davis, you have thoughts on this matter, I know.
Yes, I do. I received all those, both sets of petitions, and actually it broke down as 12 and 12 by my count.
Okay.
First off, I think that this is something that I would like to see this board table, because I would like to bring this subject to the council as a whole for further discussion. That's number one. And one of the things I would tell the council, which is, I heard one young lady say about attracting young people, and you always want to attract young people, but you also want to take care of the old people who are still here, or the old residents and those committed residents who have remained here. I don't believe either way, either for or against, chickens, for or against, is not going to stop anyone from moving here. I'm not in the real estate business, but one thing for sure, I wouldn't sell Youngstown as being, houses in Youngstown as being slightly better than some chicken coops. I found that offensive. Okay. I love my city, and I would never denigrate it in that fashion. I will say that right here.
Second.
Everyone, thank you, Julius.
I apologize. I didn't mean to be flippant. I apologize. That was not, I shouldn't have said that. I guess I meant to stress that she has a really nice chicken coop. And I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I love the city as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Like I said, I have 12 signatures in favor and 12 against. And I really think that council as a whole should take a look at this and see how we want to handle this as a totality and not based upon the individual who we like. You know, if I go into the liking business and approving things because I happen to like her, you know, that would be wrong on my part. So I would like to have this thing tabled until we can, as a council, in totality, we can take a look at this and see in which direction we want to take this item. Because in the past, a previous council has already spoken, you know, and we have one of them here. I won't put them on the spot, but the council as a whole were opposed to this kind of thing in Youngstown. Times have changed and everything. And I know there are people who are coming into the city who might be in favor of something like this here, but I also have to consider the folks who are already here, who moved here because they did. I remember one young lady said she moved here because she wanted to be away from things like chickens. I mean, I took that part into account as well. And my grandchild, she would love to have chickens next door to me, okay? And that's like, you know, as much as I would like to say yes to her, it's like I can't do it biased. So what I would like to ask this council, this board to do is to table this so that I can take this to the full council for us to have a complete discussion and getting people from both sides. I don't mean both sides of this particular issue, this property, but this topic in general. Those who have knowledge about it, who are independent, don't have anything at stake. I would want to hear the pros and cons of raising, you know, livestock, poultry in particular within the city, like Youngstown, in our residential neighborhoods. And I've had sent to me some of the things that were considered before, and I noticed that most of the things the waivers that were approved were over on the east side in the areas that were a lot broader. They weren't tight neighborhoods like these. So like I said, I would like to see this thing tabled so that I can ask our council how we would like to have this thing addressed, if the board would so agree with me.
I don't want to presume on the members of the commission, but I think it would be safe to say that we would welcome some clarity, because the code currently puts the onus of making this decision on the Planning Commission. And notwithstanding an excellent presentation by Ms. Davignon, as you say, the vote is split in this neighborhood, and it certainly would be helpful to have a discussion. Do you have a sense of how long it would take to deliberate so that we could act timely? And then would it be possible to have those discussions between now and the March meeting so that Ms. Davignon could get an answer?
Okay, through the chair.
Yes.
We have a meeting tomorrow. And so I'm gonna, at the end of the meeting, I'm gonna bring this up and see if we can get it scheduled in between now and the March meeting. And I will let you know so you can, you know, take whatever steps is necessary. Okay, but that's, and
Councilman, I think that would be very appropriate to have a timely resolution, so that again, this is not the only application. We have several others that are kind of pending until we get some clarification. So
right, I understand that.
It would be good if people could know before the weather changes whether they can or cannot, and what part of town they might be able to do it, and what part of town it becomes an issue.
Yes,
Through the chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
I would make a motion that we add this continued business to be tabled for our March meeting for further discussion and research and review.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Who is that?
Jeff Limbian.
Mr. Limbian. So it's been moved and seconded to table this to the March meeting, frankly, with the understanding the council will be meeting and giving us further information. Discussion, Ms. Davis?
Yes, Mr. Hunter, Mr. Morrison, sorry, Hunter.
Your last names.
I want to bring something else up. These Zoom meetings are really terrific. But I just need this, everyone within our city limits, within our city government to realize that all of Youngstown is not hooked into the internet. And when we send messages out and notices out and say, tune into this meeting via Zoom, that's not good. That's not good. You know, all of Youngstown's not hooked into Zoom. We know that this is one of the problems that we have with the COVID, when they're telling people go online and register for the COVID vaccine. Well, you know, Youngstown is an older community, but even that part which is not older, still not hooked into the internet. So there has to be a better way of hopefully in the future, you know, that we can find another way to reach people besides telling them Zoom in. You know, it's what we have right now, but it's not always the best. Thank you.
Point well taken, and perhaps that's one of the things that you could address in terms of how do we get people's opinion when they're analog, not digital. They're used to paper notices and in-person meetings on something that is of a neighbor concern such as this. It's been moved and seconded to table to the March meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. That is the last item on the agenda. As Nikki, as a director, is there any other item for discussion that you want to bring up? I know you've just circulated the calendar, I believe, to the members, so people can book ahead and make sure they're got those in their calendars. But is there anything else you want to bring to the attention of the body?
No further information at this time, Hunter. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That being said, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Chairman.
Second.